This is KF0 OWB, trying to check to see if I got my open spot set correctly for tonight's digital learning net. KF0 OWB, monitoring, over.
KF0WD from KBCYEX. Oh, I got so many radios, I don't know. There we go. Go ahead. I will give you a radio check.
Hey, thanks, Chris, and thanks for teaching me about OBS. I made sure to mute the microphone, and I even did a test record earlier, and things worked out well. So a little bit better every time I do this. I appreciate you, and I really appreciate digital learning that. KF0 OWB, back to net. I'll be monitoring. Over. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, well, we appreciate you, man. And we appreciate the fact that you're doing that YouTube. How's that going? I'm assuming that's going good, and there is a spot there people can chat, right?
Yes, there is a spot for people to chat, and I do keep an eye on it. I still have a lot to learn about OBS and things like that. For example, I haven't quite worked out the auto start stuff yet. I need to read up on it and practice the auto start so the streaming will start automatically. It's saying 5 minutes till the hour, starting it by hand and stopping it by hand right now. But yeah, there's a place to chat, and in the past, people have chatted a tiny bit. I keep an eye on it. So thanks, Chris. KF0 OWB, over.
Okay, very cool. And I'm going to go back and continue preparing for the net, which will be in about 12 minutes. KBCYEX. This is Bucky, W0SUN. Greetings, everybody. We got 5 minutes till the official net time. I'm still, I've been traveling. I just got back from Utah, and last night I'm getting things set up. I'll be ready at right at net time. Let's, I'm excited. Let's get things going here. Come on in on ham.live. That's our chat room. ham.live. If you have a Gmail account, make sure you hit the Google account. If you don't have a Gmail account, hit the other email account. You'll get an email in return giving you instructions on what to do. All right, and Gmail will get right in. It's kind of, well, it was made for Gmail, kind of in mind with Gmail stuff, so Google stuff, kind of. So that's why they do that. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to get things started. KB2IDX, over to you. This is W0SUN.
Well, alrighty then. We still got a few minutes. Let's take some, see if anybody is, would like to check in over the air before we jump into things. If you don't have an internet connection or don't want to check in online, you can check in over the air. All we need is your call sign. And if that's the case, then come on now. This is KB2IDX. Hey Chris, W5REG. I'm not online, but I'll be online in about 15 minutes, so I decided to check in on here. Back to you. Okay, Doc. We got you. Anyone else out there?
November 7, Golf, Alpha Delta, that's 107GAD, name is Alan. N7GAD, name is Alan.
BYU, Kilo 9, Bravo, Yankee uniform. Okay, I did get you. I got W5RAG, N7GAD, and K9BYU. Anyone else? Alrighty. Nothing heard. Very good. Well, let's get this thing going here. Alrighty. Everybody, welcome to the Digital Learning Net. My name is Chris. My call sign is KB2IDX. I am Codenet Control with Bucky, W0SUN. And I am in Bloomington, Indiana. Bucky's in Colorado, Denver area. We meet here every Wednesday at 1900 hours Mountain Time on Colorado HD,
also called XLX 303D. And we are here to discuss digital ham radio, to answer your questions, listen to your comments and experiences. Now, we do prefer to take check-ins online. Please go to www.ham.live, ham.live, no com, no or, just ham.live with any browser. If you have a Gmail address, you just click on the Gmail button. If you have a different type of email, you will put that into the rectangular box provided, and it will send you an email with easy to follow instructions. And the Gmail, it will put you right out there. You just click on Digital Learning Path. And once you're in our Ham.Live room, you'll notice multiple features. Let me reset. The first and most awesome feature of Ham.Live is once you're in there, you are automatically logged in. However, you can also, if you look down towards the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little hand there. That hand, you got a question. If you want to click on that, you have a question. That tells us that you have a question, which you can also do vocally, should you have that particular opportunity. Also, you see the star. On the star, if you click on that once, then you'll get an email every time Ham.Live goes live with the Digital Learning Mat. Now, you can tune in to net without a radio as well. We're streaming live, thank you to Matt, KF0OMVB, from his website. We'll link you there. I'll be putting these links in a little bit here. And there is a place to chat in the YouTube room as well. Also, we have Brandmeister Hose Line, which is a pretty cool way of listening. I used it when I was in the hospital, just to listen to what was going on. And that's hose.brandmeister.network. That link will also be posted. And it's talk group 31088. Okay, and we did take some check-ins over the air, but if you are with us throughout the net, we will take some check-ins over the air again towards the end. We just want to make sure that we have plenty of time to focus on content. Okie doke. Please make sure you check out ColoradoDigital.net. That is our webpage. There are resources galore there. There's information about the net. There's information about, heck, you can even learn how to do your own XLX multi-protocol reflector from there. So make sure you check that out. There's also a link for donation. It does take money to keep this stuff going, so feel free to donate. Alrighty, let's get this caught up. Remember, this is a directed that, thank you. Please make sure you go through net control. Now, let's call on my co-net control, Mr. Bucky. I know that you like to call those names off, so it's all yours, my friend. We have 41 in there already. W0SUN from KB2IDX. Take it away. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Daylight Savings Time, which is awesome, and it kind of feels like the net's coming up faster than you think because you're outside enjoying the daylight and getting some things done. You're looking at your watch and you're like, oh wow, it's time for the digital learning net. Well, and here you are. So I appreciate that, everybody. I noticed that N1UKJ, you got your hand up, so I'll get to you here in just a bit. All right, let me get things started by letting you know who we've got in the chat room. We got myself and Chris. We've got KF0OTF, W1BKW, KE5CDK, KF0IGK, K0GIO, NT60X. We've got AE0NB, K3 Foxtrot Zulu Tango, KG2CV, KF0OWB, W7NEE, N9 DYO, W0AFR, KJ5EBU, N1UKJ, W0KVZ, WD0CIV, KF0ORQ, WA5RAG, N0KU, we got N0RCP, KD9YOO, N0DIS, and we got VK2MFW, W1BAN, N2 Bravo Echo Zulu, VE4 Delta Bravo Zulu, W5RAG, N7GAD, W6WDS, and we've got N2 VOC, K9BYU, KC3LYZ, KI7MTK, WD0HCR, KO6AQP. I got time. WA2NYY, KE9BJL, AC0XW. And we just added Kip. Thanks for coming in from Salt Lake City. N7KIP. Woo, I did it. I'm going to send it right back over to Chris. Take a breather. KV2IDX from W0SUN. Okay, Bucky. I have one more. Brian joined us, K2AS. We'll add you right in there. Alright, that's it. No more. I had something, and I lost it, but I will remember it. I do that all the time. Let me go ahead and take it. And let's see, we got a question. Let's just start off right with a question. We'll remember what we're going to talk about here in just a second. Get your mind together. I'll get my mind together. Because we were talking about what we're going to talk about before the net, and we got to remember what we were going to talk about before the net. So let's go over to N1UKJ up in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Dan, go ahead from W0SUN.
N1UKJ Steamboat. Well, good evening, everyone. I've been working all week on digital SMS on an Anytone 878, and I did this about 6 or 7 years ago with another buddy, and I never did get it to work. But they have updated the firmware in January, and I have the most current firmware in there, and I still can't get it to work. I think I'm doing it correctly, but I was just wondering if anyone else had ever used SMS texting from one Anytone radio to another.
Well, I used to use a thing called DMR SMS Gateway. And, well, actually, I used to use, let's see, I'm getting confused. So I used to use SMS on APRS. So I was thinking that right off the bat, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about SMS Gateway. I've never used that with DMR. So let me, I don't know if Chris, have you ever used SMS Gateway with DMR? I know there's a paid subscription website, and I'll put that in there. Yeah, we'll see what we can come up with. Over to Chris real quick, and then let's put a call out on the net and see if anybody else has big experience with it. Over to Chris. This is W0SUN.
Okay, yeah, that incidentally was what I was trying to remember. Send it to Dan. I think what he is referring to is digital APRS over the Brandmeister network. And I have tried to get it working, and I have not had any success with it. I can get analog showing, but not the digital stuff. Now, I have been with a couple of guys who did have limited success with the SMS part of it, but it appears to be really weird how you have to do it, or shall I say possibly complicated. But I didn't get that much from them on it. But as far as the APRS digital, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't heard of anybody getting it to work. Back to you, Dan. We'll set it back to Dan. No, I'll tell you what, Dan. You stand by. Let's see if anyone else out there can provide us with some input on the digital APRS over Brandmeister Network. This is KV2IDX. Okay. Nothing heard, but Bucky's putting some stuff into the chat room, so make sure you all take a look at that. Send an SMS message to the APRS destination 310999 in North America with the following body: SMSGTE at phone number and then message content. I see. That's totally different than what those other guys are doing. KV2IDX. N1UKJ. Okay, Dan. You got the floor. Well, thank you, Chris. And Bucky, I'm aware of the SMS GTE. I believe it's no longer operational. I'm not sure about that. There's a new service out. It's APRS.wiki is their website. You go there, you register your phone number, and instead of using SMS GTE, you just use SMS. I have gotten that to work, no problem. I can send a text from my radio to my phone, and I can send a message from my phone to my radio. That works just fine. What I'm trying to do is send an SMS text message from one Anytone radio to another Anytone radio. And believe me, this is not easy because I tried very hard to do this 7 years ago and had very limited success. So I just thought I would throw a curveball at you guys and see what fell out of the ceiling.
Okay, yeah, the only experience I have is with SMS Gateway. I don't know of any other system. They're trying to make a comeback. I don't know if they are online. They did go offline. They are trying to come back. They're still around, but they're not active right now. I don't think they're active. So all that information is really good, but I don't know. Maybe somebody else has some more information, more current information. Yeah, I don't know. This is W0SUN. All right, well, I say let's move on then. We will see if we can find anyone in the future, Dan. And if you do make progress, let us know, please. Okay, anybody else have any questions while we're doing questions? Anyone have any questions for the team? Please come now. This is KB2IDX, Digital Learning Net, with Puppy W0SUN. Yeah, this is W0SUN. Let me just mention, SMS Gateway was a really cool feature. I used to use it all the time. I didn't have a DMR radio. I didn't do it through digital communications. I did it exactly through APRS. I used it very effectively within FTM 400. Initially, I chose the FTM 400 because it had a really good touchscreen, and I didn't even know about Fusion at the time. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't really get into the digital modes back in those days, but it just barely came out. The FTM 400 just barely came out as a new radio. I saw it. I saw the touchscreen. I saw the keypad. I'm thinking, oh, baby, this is what I've been asking for. And I was able to send messages to other APRS users very effectively. I used it for, we used SMS messaging on our communication support work for providing support for charity organizations, that kind of thing, service projects. It was really good. Let me reset. Okay, so I found out about SMS GTE, smsgte.org. And when it was online and happening, it was great. I could send messages to my wife's cell phone. I didn't need internet. A lot of times I was away from the internet, so I could just send messages through SMS GTE. It would go through the digital, the APRS DigiNodes, and eventually make itself through an iGateway and get on the internet. And then it would go through SMS GTE after a format that I used to use, and then find my wife's cell phone. And then we could text each other. It was great. I could also send, at the time I was using Twitter. It wasn't called X. It was called Twitter. And I used to send tweets. Twitter tweets, whatever. Anyway, I used to send those and do, yeah, that was cool. And when the founder of APRS passed away, I sent a rest in peace through APRS through to SMS Gateway through to Twitter, and I thought that was fitting rest in peace message using it with APRS. That was cool days. Anyway, yeah, and with that, you could send it to a talk group, and that talk group would send it to SMS Gateway, and then that would send it to another DMR radio or another APRS or another, you could send it to a cell phone that way with the DMR radio. Really cool stuff. So in case you're wondering what SMS Gateway was, it was just a system to get to, it was kind of like a gateway to use SMS text messaging kind of format and send messages back and forth beyond APRS. That was cool stuff. So, anyway, over to N1UKJ for your response from W0SUN.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. I mean, the format's pretty much the same whether you're using SMS, GTE. Like I said, I don't know if it's still up and running, but it's pretty easy to go on to the APRS wiki website and set up an account, register your phone numbers, and basically use the same format string that Bucky was talking about, and you set up your radio, Anytone radio, to transmit to your hotspot, and the destination is the talk group 310-999. And it works really well. But anyhow, I don't want to take up the whole hour and a half. The topic is closed as far as I'm concerned. If anyone has any additional information, my QRZ email address is current. Thanks, everyone.
Well, that was great information, great question, good information. I'm sure a lot of people weren't aware of that kind of information and systems. We did do, over the last couple of years, we've done nets on APRS and SMS Gateway in the past. And I think we even covered DMR. I think Doug covered it at the time. And I think, I don't know, I got to get him back on here. He knows a little bit more than I do on SMS DMR, using DMR. If you go to SMS, I just had it up, but I took it down, smsgte.org. Yeah, smsgte.org/DMR. They got some information, but unfortunately, the reason they took it down was because of spam messaging, and they couldn't control spam messaging with the FCC requirements, and so they had to shut it down. And that is the reason they shut it down. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Too bad, Anyway, anybody else have any questions or comments, please come out with your call sign. This is W0SUN with KB2RDX, and this is the Digital Learning Net. Okay, I do have something I want to, last week we talked with Charles. I want to do a follow-up, WD0CID. He, Brandmeister, on their main page, as of a certain date, they stopped supporting the old the old user ID, DMR ID, CCS7 ID, radio ID, okay, whatever you want to call it. Officially it's called CCS7 ID. But they stopped supporting the IDs that started with a 1. And you have to go ahead and get a new one with a 3. There's an automated process that I didn't talk about. And I did talk about it on the Thursday night net over on Kansas City Wide. But I didn't talk about it on this net. First of all, I see that Charles checked in. And I want to see if he got that all straightened out. So Charles, you had an early version of the DMR ID. When did you get your DMR ID, and how did you get it, and what DMR network were you using at the time, and did you get it resolved? I have those questions for you. Charles, you out there? WD0 CIV from W0SUN. Well, I should have called them ahead of time. Sometimes I do that. I didn't know I was going to call on them. I take a risk when I call on people, and they check in. I see them there. Let me see if he's on the... it shows he's online, but he might be trying to get his radio and jump in. So we'll come back to Charles. Anyway, over on radioid.net, if you have a talk group that starts with a 1, and you have when you get your ID, you create a user account with Radio ID. So everybody that has a Radio ID has a user account. You don't go to Brandmeister, you go to radioid.net. When you do that, you log in. If you have one of those old IDs, it'll have a feature where you can just have an automated process. When you put in your old ID, you press a couple of buttons, and it gives you a new ID. It's an automatic process, and I want to see if you did that. Pretty cool. I did not talk about that to some great... I didn't even talk about that process, but that is pretty cool. Anyway, if you're there, Charles, let me know. But anybody else have any experience with having an old ID? I'm curious when you got that ID, and I know kind of why they gave them out back in the beginning. But anybody have one of those old IDs or back in those days, and what was the DMR environment? And were you on Brandmeister or were you on a different DMR network at the time? Anybody with any comments or questions, please come now. Okay, we'll come back with a few things. Chris, KB2IDX, do you need I think you might have something, you got something going on in about 5, you have to break away from the net briefly. I know you had some announcements, or some additions, over to KB2IDX from W0SUN. Yeah, I wanted to mention that I got a radio that I need to turn volume down on over there. Thank you. Sorry. I want to mention to WPSC users that there's a new feature in there that you may be interested in. And what they have done, it has to do with the update notifier on the configuration page. There was a little check mark there where you could have it notify you or not have it notify you. Well, they have done away with that. Now, what they have is all the way down at the bottom of the configuration screen, and it's enable or disable, which means enable your automatic updates or disable them. If you disable them, I caution you strongly against doing that. It will not have the normal overnight updates. It will never update the host files, which have talk groups, call signs, all kinds of stuff in them. But some people ask for that, so they put it in. The other thing that you could lose by disabling that is product support. Because if you're not on the latest version, they're probably not going to want to help you too much. So I guess they put it in there because some folks wanted it. I personally checked it out, said I'm keeping it on. I update as often as possible, whenever there's one available, because you just never know. It's an ongoing project, and truth be told, updating it is what it's all about. Let me reset real quick. Actually, resetting on the digital network is never real quick. But they put that in there because people wanted it, and I leave mine alone. I suggest you as well. The support issue is really important. If you have a problem, you can go to them. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. We can leave that. Bucky, do you have anything you want to say about that? Overview, KB2IDX. Yeah, I got a screenshot of it. Let me see if I can get into that screenshot. But I'll put that in here in just a minute. My take on it, just like the OpenSpot hotspot, I have automatic updates set up to happen on the hotspot. And I really enjoy not having to worry about it. And that's one of the things I like about WPSD. I also have a Pi-Star original, system hotspot as well. What I'm really glad is they give you the option to disable it, and that's kind of nice if you want to have total control. There might be a reason you want total control, but I actually like getting the automatic updates. I find that's really useful. So that's all I have to say about it. Back over to you, Chris. Yeah, well, that's kind of the whole idea. It's a project. It's an ongoing project. Updates are part of the game. Actually, Linux is the same way. And there are, Lord knows how many versions of that out there. Well, anyone have any questions or comments on that subject or any other, please now. Alrighty. Yeah, there's that slightly blurry, but I can see it. I got my reading glasses on. Yeah, make sure you read the warning down there. And so, Bucky, what's the, what else do we have for folks this evening? All right, we were having a discussion, Chris and I, before the net, but I'll tell you what that discussion was. Stay tuned. But I want to read who we've got on that so far. We left off with Kip, and we've got 52 check-ins so far. This is awesome. We've got Brian, K2AS, WX4C, KC8GEF, AE0NO, KF0LPT, KF0NYC, KN4FM, BE7JBX, JK2XKE in Japan. Thanks for joining us on your afternoon. KA1CNF, Steve, we're leaving off with you. That brings us up to 52. All right. So I will tell you what Chris and I were having. Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, I put Charles' hand up for him. We'll come back to Charles in a minute. Hey, WD0CIV, if you're there, I might call on you in a little bit. All right. All right, let's see. Chris was asking me that he was informing me that Charles had his hand up, but he didn't know that I stuck his hand up there for him so I could be reminded that I was calling on him. All right. Let me reset. So, why do we keep on doing this week after week or week? Why do we do what we do? We've been doing this, Doug and I have been doing this net for, almost 6 years, believe it or not. Doug started this net, right before, well, yeah, around COVID timeframe, we started this net, and we both had our passion for digital at the time. This was new. It was exciting. We were just brand new in it. He was into DMR, and I was getting into Fusion and DMR and D-Star, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. I was getting into hotspots, and it was all new. And we just started doing a digital net for a few people, and it just grew and grew, and it's been super fun. So why do we do what we do? Why do we continue doing what we're doing? And now, Chris, it's really great to have you, and you got the same passion. So why do we keep doing this? We were having this discussion. We wanted to have it out on the net. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, KB2IDX, over to you from W0SUN.
Yeah, and it's a little bit even more than that, including helping people over the air, over the phone, actually getting on somebody's computer from over the internet too. And why do we do this? Well, personally, I do it because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy learning and then sharing that knowledge and being able to present it to somebody in a way they can understand it. And it's easier to say what I don't do it for, which I could. You know, it's a rewarding thing to do. That's what. That is our reward. And really, just like, I mean, that's just the way I'm built, and I'm pretty sure that's the way he is too. And he's taken a lot further than I have, of course, but it's rewarding. And I like to think one thing in particular would occur too, and that would come from, let me reset real quick. that would come from you guys. The guys who learn stuff from us, being successful and having fun. But most importantly, pay it forward. That's the reward. Help somebody else. That's why we do it. I put the wrong call sign in. Okay. We do that. Well, first of all, nobody wants to have somebody come on and have a broken radio or bad sounding or complaining about not being able to do it. We'd rather have them come say, hey, this thing works great. And then we want you to pay it forward. That's the complete reward. And I know Bucky has more to say on that as well. Over to you, Bucky. KB2IDX.
Well, those reasons are great, but I'm a little bit more simple. I do this for tacos. I can't tell you how many people have taken me out for lunch for tacos. Everybody knows in Denver that if you need my help, you've got to take me out to lunch. I get tacos or sushi. I like sushi. Some people take me out for sushi. That's cool. Why did they start doing this over on KCY? I can tell you the real reason. I met up with Jerry, and he asked me if I would be interested, and I turned him down. Then I thought about it. My daughter lives over there, and the reason I do it over in KCY, I get taken out to lunch when I'm there. Usually Jerry buys me lunch. That's cool. The main reason, though, I was bored. And when I went over there to visit my daughter, my wife is working remotely. My daughter and my stepson, or my daughter and her husband, they started work. They were going to work. All the kids, the grandkids were going to school. I was left with nothing to do. So I just started doing this digital stuff over there to make friends. So it was simple. I just wanted to make friends, go out to lunch, meet some cool people, and it's simple, man. I can't tell you how many times I've met up with people, and it's just been great. Yeah, we help out with hotspots and wires X and all this stuff and code plugs and do all that. But later on, we go out to lunch. KB2IDX from W0SUN.
Yeah, I got you. I actually am very partial to bacon and cheese omelet, man. I love omelets. Actually, there is one omelet, but there's a secret. But we're not going there. Anyway, it's fun too, Bucky. You gotta admit. What are you at there? What's that YouTube? KB2IDX, back to you, Bucky.
Yeah. I kind of got into this stuff, and during COVID, I was very excited that I was able to do some presentations. I started out doing a presentation for our club, and I ended up doing presentations for another club, and then for Amateur Radio Emergency Services here, Arapahoe County. I did one for them, and I started doing presentations, and pretty soon during COVID I was doing Zoom presentations. I remember I did one in Oklahoma, in Atlanta, in California, and a couple in Colorado on Zoom. And so that was exciting, doing that, and the digital learning that also. So I just, it just became really fun, and I was able to help a lot of people, and I just think it's super cool. This whole digital thing with ham radio is great because now with a tech license, you can talk to people all over the world. And I was attracted to it. Once I got my Fusion radio, I thought that was great. I'm a Yaesu fan, and I got into WireSX immediately. I was able to meet with people around the world, and I was always trying to, I used to live in Korea, so I was trying to make contacts on HF with people in South Korea. And I was able to successfully do that. But to have any type of friendship or lasting relationship, I mean, yeah, I made some friends and we exchanged QSL cards and things like that. But I never really got to make a really good friendship. And because of digital communications, I've got so many friends in Korea now, and they're going to come to the USA and meet me here, and I'm going to be going to Korea, and I'm going to meet them there. We're going to stay at each other's houses. We got plans. It's going to be super cool. So, mission accomplished because of digital communications. And I was so fascinated with that. And being able to talk through a repeater and to control the repeater with my handy-talkie, that was like magic to me. To be able to control the repeater and unlink it and link it somewhere else. It was like IRLP 10 years earlier, but way better. So I was so excited that I got everybody. I just wanted to get everybody else excited too. All right. So there's a lot of exciting things going on, and I haven't really gotten into it. There's Arden, AREDN, and I don't know much about it. We didn't net on it, but I'm not the one who drove it. Somebody else, we had a guest speaker, and now there's Meshtastic, and now somebody said, does anybody have any information on Meshcore? Not Meshtastic, Meshcore. I don't know the difference. I found a YouTube video, but that's all I got. This is the first time I've heard of it. N6PSP. Uh, what have you found out about it? What's different? You just started just researching about it. What do you know about it? Over to Rick, N6PSP from W0SUN.
And I have to Rick N6PSP. I recently discovered it was out there. It seems to be a competition of sorts for Meshtastic, but simpler in its operating system. I'm not sure all the devices that can use the Meshtastic can also use this one. It's that's why I was asking about it. Okay, I see it's a little bit hot. I'll back off the mic. Sorry about that. I've got a headset on. I was just trying to see if anybody else knew more information about it. That's all I've got. Back to Net Control and 6PSP.
Well, I found the place where you download the information and the software. And I can tell you what it says there. So I love it when people come out with new products, anything, it's not even just ham radio. There's a place called GitHub.com, GITHUB.com, and so I tracked it down to this website, and they provide a lot of information. We get a lot of ham radio products on GitHub as well. And what they said is it's a lightweight protocol for packet radio. And packet radio was very popular in the 90s. And it's I think it's never gone away. I'm amazed that it's a huge thing in Denver. A lot of people are still doing packet radio. And basically it's like, I don't know if you remember back in the 1970s doing BBS, bulletin board system with the modems before the internet. And we would get on BBSs and send messages. It was a store and forward type thing. That's what packet radio is. But MeshCore, wow, supports many devices, and it's a multi-hop packet routing protocol, and it lets you do off-grid communications, emergency response, outdoor activities, tactical sensor networks. There's all kinds of things. So it's not mesh-tastic. MeshCore is more like packet radio with a new operating system, new protocol. It's more lightweight. It's not as heavy. I guess there's devices that cover it. So it's very similar to packet radio. That's all I can see. I zipped through the webpage. I put a link in there. Very cool. Something that I just found out about because of the net. Thanks a lot, Brian, for bringing this to our attention. Richard, N6PSP. Back over to you from W0SUN.
Yeah, I have the links that you've provided on the Handout Live. Thank you for that. I'm looking into it. It seems to be a simpler way of doing it than Meshtastic. With Meshtastic, I guess the opportunities to oversaturate the local area net is much higher. This new MeshCore allows you to direct your traffic specifically to one person, or even tell it to go through specific repeaters if you have repeaters in your area. If you know what the correct routing is, you can just send it through only the repeaters you want to get to its destination instead of broadcasting it for everyone else, to tie up the system with multiple resends from other devices. That's what little I know. Thank you, Bucky, for providing this information, and maybe others can dig into this and we can revisit it at another date. Thank you very much. Again, appreciate all you guys do here at the Digital Learning Net. Back to Net Control, Rick N6PSP.
Yeah, I copied and pasted a lot of interesting information into Ham.live, our chat room. Yeah, thanks for bringing it to our attention. This is really cool. So MeshCore, you also create wireless mesh networks, very similar to Meshtastic, but unlike Meshtastic, it allows you to embed this, custom solutions. It's a bunch of code that you can configure with certain devices, and there's a list of devices that it's capable with, and it can communicate over long distances by relaying messages through intermediate nodes, kind of like APRS, right? So you don't have to have the internet. It's useful off the grid, kind of like APRS, kind of like packet radio, but it goes long distances. And wow, it's a new system, I guess, for ham radio and communications. So yeah, stay tuned. That's pretty neat. You know, we got to do a net on Meshtastic and Meshcore too, for that, and we'll do a net on both of them. And there's a bunch of other cool things like Arden Mesh projects and things like that. So yeah, I don't know much about it, but I know people who do that are doing a lot of stuff with it. So definitely got to do something with it. Anyway, anybody else have any questions or comments? This is W0SUN with the Digital Learning Net. Please come out with your call sign. WD0CIV, we're here. All right, Charles, you made it back. You heard I was looking for you. All right. Happy hour starts it's 8 o'clock. Happy hour starts at 8:30. So boy, the guy's eager to get into happy hour. I'll explain what happy hour is in just a minute. But all right. I have a question for you. What's the status of your DMR ID? Because my question is, what's the status? And then I have one more question for you. So what did you figure out there, Charles, from last week? Okay, yeah. Well, I got on the, what is it, radio ID, and they looked at my, they said my call and everything was verified, and to get new numbers that start with the 3 and all that stuff, it was kind of like the government. You had to throw money at it. So I threw the money at it. Then I got actually 2 of the numbers, because I got one number for one set of radios, and then I had another number for another set of radios. So anyway, I got 2 of them, and then I let it sit there. I guess you're supposed to let it sit for 2 or 3 days or whatever, and I kept checking on it every day. Anyway, I got the numbers fine, and I put the numbers in the radio, so each radio has the numbers that they want, starting with the 3. Now the only problem I have is how do I actually test to see if that's working? So, I got the numbers in the radio, but is there any way you can actually guarantee that those numbers are going to work? And I thought, well, I'll get around to it maybe tomorrow or the next day, and 3 or 4 days goes by, and I never got around to it. So anyway, if you got a quick way of doing the check, then let me know, and I'll try it tomorrow sometime. Anyway, this is W0CIB. We're going to turn back over to W0SUN. Take it over, buddy. Yeah, Charles, I can verify that it's working. Last week, it said you were no call on the dashboard. This week, you have your call sign shown up. That's one example. Here's another example. if you go to Brandmeister Last Heard, you're going to see that, hold on, let me see if I can save this thing. Wow, I'm having some computer problems today. I hastily got this going. And today, because I had all my equipment, I was traveling, so I set up my equipment right before the net. But anyway, let me see if I can add this. All right, stand by just a second.
Hey, while you're doing that, let me get the chat room caught up for you, Bucky. We got a few more names. Well, I'll run through them real quick and get right back to you. N6DSB, KK7UZZ, AA6IO, KA5JKI, N7DEN, and ZL2BEZ, bringing us up to 58. Back to you, Bucky. KB2IEX.
Okay, I'm back. Let me see if I can find this file. I think I found it. Yeah, check this out. So last week, he didn't have these numbers. These are his new, and I'm posting this into the chat room. And even though he's coming in on Wires X, it's showing up on Brandmeister with his new caller ID. And if you look last week, and you scroll up all the way to the top, you'll see his old numbers in the chat room. You can actually scroll up there from last week and see his old numbers. And now he's got new numbers. So they're working, man. They're working very well. Because I looked at Brandmeister last week, and it did not have you. When you were transmitting, it didn't show any DMR ID whatsoever. It was just like you didn't have one. Even though you had one, it was an old one. It's not supported by Brandmeister anymore, so it wasn't showing up. So it's working for you there, Charles. Over to you.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. I see that they're on there, and I noticed it was on the Wires X one was showing up, which is kind of neat. Anyway, let's see, what else? Yeah, the only other thing I got to do is figure out how to I know how to manually type in talk group number. Unfortunately, on Anytone radio, the number stands there fine for a while, and then I don't know, maybe there's a timeout, like on repeaters, 3 minutes or whatever. And anyway, you try to transmit after 2 or 3 minutes, and you're transmitting directly on whatever repeater you're on or whatever, and it does not go doesn't go to the talk group. So anyway, it doesn't actually stay in the memory and hang on to it. So we'll have to figure out what I got punched in wrong, and then we'll figure that out. But that's no big deal. Anyway, I got numbers starting with a 3, so that's good. And hopefully I have one other number. What is it, Nexon or something? Anyway, I haven't actually used it, but I got that number too, so I don't know if there's a difference on that or not. It looked like it was still good, so I just kind of left it alone. Anyway, this is W0CID, Charles in Denver. We're going to turn it back over to W0SUN. Take it over, Dick. Take it over, Bucky.
All right. Very, very cool. All right. So, Paul, ZL2, Bravo Echo Zulu, this is interesting. What are you seeing on XLX303D and how are you seeing it? He's chatting in the chat room. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm hearing some experiences with this. Over to Paul in New Zealand. Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, Bucky. Yeah, I'm directly connected on the XLX303 Delta using a DMR radio, and I'm seeing his old ID 1108327 on the XLX server, so I'm not sure whether the updates flowed completely through to the network, over.
Okay. Okay, so are these, see, you're seeing it through XLX, and you're not on Brandmeister. Okay, that makes sense. And so he's coming in on WiresX. So he's coming in through Brandmeister. WiresX, our WiresX, now, not everybody does it this way. The way we do our bridging is WiresX is bridged directly to Brandmeister. And then Brandmeister, so it's bridged to a master server. Then it takes a master server, which now that's bridged over to our XLX reflector. So we do things a lot differently than other systems. For example, KCY does it completely different. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Now, I have a question for a few of you, because this is really interesting to me. Charles, what were you using DMR for, and what network were you using DMR when you first got that ID? I'm just wondering when that was, and were you using Brandmeister, or were you using other DMR networks like MDARC, Motorola DMR, Amateur Radio Club, DMARC? They had a network out there. So over to WZ0CIB, what was the circumstances when you got your new DMR ID back then?
Yeah, this is W0CIB. Let's see. I learned about the, what is it, the Brandmeister thing later on, and I can't even remember what network I was trying on DMR before. I might have been on one of the repeaters. Let me think of what it is. It's Rocky Mountain Radio League. I believe that's it. But anyway, haven't been back to that one for a while. Then DRC decided that they were going to get a fusion repeater up, and I think they got a DMR repeater also. So I might have tried that one too. And I can't remember if they're Brandmeister or whether they're what I call the regular one, the Motorola one, I guess you'd call it. Anyway, yeah, that was a long time ago. That was when we were using PYT radios, which I still have, and they still work good. And I have to actually, I think I changed the numbers in them too, but I'm going to check and make sure. Because the new ones, the Anytones, I got them set up. Yeah, I think I already changed the numbers. I'll have to check though. Like I say, if it's been more than a week, I probably forgot what I was doing. Anyway, this is W0CIB. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bucky. Take it over.
Ah, real cool. Very cool. So there's some really cool questions in the chat room, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so yeah, and there's a, let's see, Ray N0RCP. You're showing no call sign on your radio, and you're showing his new DMR ID. So he's got a new radio ID, and you wouldn't see his call sign because you have to update your database on your own radio. You have to update the for the code plug. So you're not going to see his call sign until you do that. And I'm sure it takes a while for the other systems to catch up. Very interesting. All right. All right. So one question is, how do you have two DMR IDs? They only give out one. How do you get two radio IDs? Dave, what were the circumstances, and why did they have to give out ones and not threes in the past anyway? So over to WD0HDR, you said this really good last week. I want you to say it again. You were around back then, so what was the circumstances, and how does one get two DMR IDs, two radio IDs, CCS7 IDs, over to WD0HDR from W0SUN?
Okay, Bucky, yeah. I'm making it in, okay.
Yeah, you sound good. You might have to just speak up a little bit louder, but you sound good to me.
Okay. Yeah, I can speak up. So there's one get two IDs, I guess request the second one. I don't know if they're issuing the second one. Back when I first started misunderstanding, misinformation, then the impression if you had two radios, you had to have two IDs because you couldn't hear yourself. If both radios had the same ID if you're trying to talk back and forth, which is not true. On the Motorola's, that was a setting within the code plug for businesses, law enforcement, so that people wouldn't cause feedback when they picked up the handheld and keyed up with the same ID. But that's a setting on the radio to turn that on or off. And we just requested a second one. I don't know if that's still available now. And originally the numbers were issued in sequence. I think there was two issuing authorities. And one was marked, I believe, and the other one was for Europe. And when they got to a point, rather wrapping the numbers around or whatever, going to 3-1, they just continued with the numbers. And once that was discovered, then everything went to radio ID as a single source station, numbers worldwide. That way would keep them straight. And so the 1-1 numbers were issued, and then it was just a while back. It's been mentioned off and on for years about asking people to go get new numbers if they had the 1-1, but they just made that official on Brandmeister here last month or two. So I don't know if that explains it or confuses it, but I'll turn it back to Bucky. WD's right here.
Yeah, when I first got into DMR and I got my radio ID, so many of my friends had two radio IDs. And the reason they had those two is because it was believed that you need one for each radio, which is not the case. So they had multiple radios, they got multiple DMR IDs. I was going to get me a new one, but I never did. I didn't think I needed one because I only had one radio. I should have got one, but I never did. But many people had those back in those days, and in fact, almost everyone had one. So I just assumed that I would get one eventually, but then they changed the rules, and like Dave said, they had multiple organizations giving out the IDs at times, but they all standardized on radioid.net. They would give out the IDs for just every network except for NXDN. So you can use the same ID on multiple DMR networks. It'll use the same ID. If you use NXDN, you have to get a separate ID. So that's not really the DMR network anyway. So that's how you get two IDs. They don't do that anymore. If you request one and if you have one, you're not going to get one. So too bad. And I want to see if there was somebody else. Hang on. K2AS. What was your experience? You said it also was not a pleasant experience changing your ID over to K2AS. I'm curious about all this, guys. So K2AS, over to you, Brian. This is W0SUN.
Yeah, okay, Bucky and everybody on the net, good evening. Yeah, I had a CSS7 ID back when I got the OpenSpot 1. I was basically only on Fusion, WiresX. But I got this OpenSpot 1, and I don't know if it was like 2018 or 2017, whenever it first came out. I got one like right away. And in setting it up, they said, well, they wanted you to get have a CSS7 ID. So I think I probably Googled how to get one. And I did get one. It was 1136332. And I didn't use that OpenSpot a ton. And I didn't, I think I might have tried to cross mode once or twice, but I didn't really use it a lot. But last year I got a couple MMDVM hotspots, and I put up an XLX reflector. So I thought, well, maybe I better change. So went ahead and did it. I had trouble getting a lot of silly things. I had trouble getting into the website. I don't know why, because I had a login in my password manager for Radio ID. Then I had to go to the FCC and download an official copy of my license. I had uploaded there, and sending me code so I could log in, and then I had to try to get into Brandmeister. I had the same issue there. So, and then I had trouble with some of my hotspots not working right, and then I ended up having a lot of self-inflicted wounds after that. But after about 24 hours, I got things working. It took a while for the call sign to show up properly, but yeah, just the usual kind of stuff. It wasn't that bad getting. I got the new ID pretty quickly, other than having to, send my my copy of my license and everything. But yeah, just some self-inflicted wounds after that, and I thought to myself, I probably should have just waited, because I know I had till the end of the year before it had to be done. So that was why. Back to you, Bucky. This is K2A.
It's interesting that I'm using BlueDV right now, and that's what I use for the nets. It's showing your old call sign, but then I looked at on Brandmeister Last Heard, and they have your ID updated. So it's going to take a while for different systems to get updated. And which reminds me, we talked about this with Chris, on WPSD, if you choose not to do updates, that includes the simple update that PriStar does every night. And so they update, so your PriStar might be out of date, and then the next day it should be up to date. So it does all the call sign databases every night. My BlueDV does not do updates. I have to do them manually. So that's kind of a hassle. But to have all the new stuff and all the latest call signs, I have to update my own call sign database, or not my own, but I have to go and download the current database every week. So it hasn't been updated yet. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So Paul is still seeing the old ID on XLX303 Delta. Very interesting. Anyway, it's a really interesting topic. I thought it's fascinating that a few of you had all these old IDs and all the process that you're going through to change these. Over to Chris. Let's see who else has checked in and what do you got for us? KB2IDX from W0SUN.
Okay. We got one more added in there. That would be Bud, W0RNT, bringing us up to 59. And what else do I have? Not much. I really don't have a heck of a lot more, but I do know that the chat room for After Hours will be going live fairly shortly. And we are likely officially going to cut that After Hours down to an hour. Probably mostly because Bucky's sleepy too. You always know that I am. But I guess Bucky is too, but we'll worry about that then. Anyway, it's been a pretty good night. Before we get there, let's make sure there aren't any more questions out there. So, if you have any more questions, this is a good time to do it. If not, we can carry it on in the After Hours. This is KB2IDX, Digital Learning Method. Okay. Remember, I say it every week. Make backups of everything. Not just your configuration on your Pi-Star. Make up. If you use DMR, make a backup of your code plug. It helps. The things that I make backups of, I do them by date. And that way I keep an eye on them. I say that every week. I'm going to continue to. And again, I said it earlier. Please remember, pay it forward. Help somebody else that needs it. And that's about all I got, Bucky. Have you got anything left for us tonight? W0SUN from KB2IDX.
Yeah, I just want to give a little bit of my experience that I did over the weekend, last weekend. Real quick, this is very interesting, I think. We did communication support for the Skinny Tire event. I'll put that webpage in, and we've been doing that for the last 20 years. Well, 3 years ago, we made everything digital. So we do the entire event on C4FM digital communications. We don't use WiresX. We have a standalone repeater that we have on a generator that we move around depending on the location of the riders every day. We change the path through Moab, Utah, through Arches National Park, up to Dead Horse Point, through over to the next day we go to Potash, and then The next day we go to Castle Valley. So we have these rides every day. Skinny Tire Events in Moab does, we raise money for bike riders to get pledges, and we turn the money over for fighting cancer. For example, I forget the hospital in Salt Lake City, but we donated $1 million for their cancer research center, and we've raised like $6 million, if not more. And we have about 600 riders every twice a year. We do it in September and we do it again in March. So, but the thing is, we switched over to C4FM, and I thought that was crazy at the time. It's going to get a lot of packet loss, and surprisingly, it's very nice. My wife serves as net control operator, and she loves it. Let me reset. So yeah, because of these events, when I started doing them about 18 years ago, I got involved. I did it 2 years on my own, and then I just said, to my wife, you got to come because we're having so much fun. It's beautiful. We can have after we get done with the event every day about 3 o'clock-ish, we can go do some other activities, go four-wheeling or whatever, and see the beautiful scenery. It's great. You're gonna love it. The people are great. So I got her involved, and guess what? She got her ham license just for this event. She loves doing this event, so that's why she got her tech license. So thank you for this event because I never thought she'd get a ham license, but she got one. So that's awesome. So anyway, she does net control, and it's all crystal clear audio. Digital communications with a standalone repeater. Sometimes we do Simplex C4FM. What's really cool is we can send pictures. We get data. We can see where they're located, how many miles away they are. We also do APRS on band B, but also sometimes we do group monitoring. When I'm talking to another vehicle, exchanging information or net control, I can hit the display button and I can see the compass, where I am in association with that other person I'm talking to, and also I can see the mileage away from where we are from each other. We have a fleet of FTM 300 radios that we put in every van, and then the people that do aid station management and help out with aid station communication, they have their own radios. So they provide their own radios, but we provide the radios in every van. And we have a mechanic or EMT. We put a ham radio operator to ride along. And it's just really great doing the whole thing on C4FM Fusion. And I never thought it would go so well, but it does. I thought I'd throw that out there. This is W0SUN, standby. Yeah, the cell phone range doesn't do too well in the canyons, so yeah, that's why we do communication support. And it's a good way to give back, but it's also really fun to do. So it's one of my favorite activities I do throughout the year. I also do the Courage Classic in July up in the mountains of Colorado, and that's another fun one. It's not related, but it's very similar. But we don't do C4FM. We do FM. Anyway, that's it. This has been the Digital Learning Net. Thank you to ColoradoDigital.net and the XLX303 Reflector. And we're here every week at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. 7 o'clock Daylight Savings Time. So for those of you international, the time might have changed. So thanks for following us and finding the new time zone. We've gone to Daylight Savings Time. So And for those of you who are out doing activities and it's lighter, thanks for jumping on the net. All right. I also have to put out a thank you to parkerradio.org, Parker Radio Association, for letting us use the Fusion repeater all these years. Thanks for that. We've used that from the very beginning. All right, that's it. We got the right next door on Ham.Live, we got the Colorado HC After Hours Net going. That's the Colorado Hotspot Discussion After Hours Net, the Happy Hour, HC Happy Hour. And it's right next door, so join us in there. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and close the net. Let me pass it over to Chris, and he can officially end the net. And we'll get things started here over there pretty quick. And I already have the chat room open. Come on in and join us. Over to you, Chris. This has been SW0SUN, Pucky with CoNet Control.
Okay. One more thank you goes to Sean, KK6DED, for this excellent blogging website. We do appreciate it, man. So, at this time, we will be closing the net. And thank you all for checking in. We'll see you all next Wednesday, maybe tomorrow night, maybe in just a few minutes in the after hours. But I'm sure we'll see you again every week, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And now, please allow for 20 to 30 seconds of silence. So anybody that needs to disconnect can do so. This KB2IDX will catch you in a little short.